What's up, freaks and geeks? Welcome back to Low Res DIY. Sure, you can tell here from the table we've got some old parts, we've got some new parts. We're going to smack them all together, put them in this nice little small form factor case, and we're going to build a NAS today. Eventually put true NAS scale on it, and we'll run through all that in later videos. And it's going to be replacing the old R610 server back here, and basically the entire server rack. By doing that, it's going to make it a lot cooler in this room. Definitely make it a lot quieter in this room, and we'll be using less power and reducing our carbon footprint, which is good for Mother Nature. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. All right, so let's start this out by having a quick look at some of the older parts that I have sitting around for this build. So we'll start off with a graphics card. This guy is a EVGA GeoForce RTX 2060. It has 6 gigabytes of DDR6 memory, and it's base clock, what was it, 1365 megahertz is its base clock, and it can go up to like 1450, I believe, boost up to 1450. Main reason I'm using it is just because it's sitting around and it's not being used for anything. Next up is the this is a Ryzen 7 2700. So let me see, what were the specs on this guy? Not listed on the box here. All right, so it has a base clock of 3.2 gigahertz. It can boost up to 4.1 gigahertz, but the big thing, big reason why I wanted to use this one was, well, again, it's sitting around doing nothing because I just upgraded everything a couple months back, but it has 8 cores, 16 threads that can be utilized for VMs and container use and everything else. So put him off to the side. A couple Noctua fans. These will just help quiet the whole system down, hopefully. I have got a pair of ADATA 120 gigabyte hard drives, or SSDs actually, that I'm going to put the operating system on this. I'm going to do it in a mirrored system. That way I have a backup of my operating system. Just some cheap little discs, actually. I think I paid $30 for a piece for these guys, maybe. It was not a lot, I know that. I've got a set of 3 1 terabyte hard drives. Now, these guys are just super old. I'm putting them in the machine to start out with just to ensure everything is up and running, working properly. And then once I'm happy with that, I am going to take and import all the data pools from the R610 and put all the hard drives in this guy right here. So there's that. I have this guy right here. It is a 970 EVO, Samsung 970 EVO NVMe. It's fast. I can't remember how quick it is, but this is a pretty fast little hard drive, or pretty fast little NVMe. 256 gigabytes is the size, and I plan on, whoop, don't do that, guys. I plan on using this as the storage for all the containers that I might make, and that I will make, and maybe VMs or something like that. That way they're just a little bit snappier and quicker. Now to cool that that Ryzen 7 down, I've got this old Cooler Master 120 AIO water cooler. Now, I want to say I picked this guy up a couple years back, and I paid like $60 for it or something like that. I'm really a fan of air cooling, but I figured, what the hell? If this guy will fit in here, let's go ahead and use it. If it doesn't fit in the case properly and look good and everything, we'll go ahead and pull it out, and we'll just use the stock cooler that came with the Ryzen 7. To power our new NAS, I got this EVGA 750 gold rated power supply. It's an SFF power supply, small form factor. So let's go ahead and pull it out, and we'll show you how small this guy really is. I mean, that's a little bitty power supply. 100% modular, so we'll only have the wires in this small case that are required, and hopefully be able to make a nice clean, oh, what do you call it? Wiring setup, whatever. So that is the power supply right there. And let's have a quick look at our motherboard. Now, what I ended up choosing was the B550 Aorus Pro AX. Main reason I chose it was the cheapest one out there. There's no, you know, big super surprises with it or anything, but it's reliable, or it comes from a reliable company, or what I believe is a reliable company, and it was at a good price for today's freaking market. It was a 186 or 189, I believe I paid for it off of Amazon, and look at that thing. I already have the CPU on it because I couldn't wait to open it up and have a look at it. But look at this little guy. That is freaking awesome. Okay, so let's start out by having a look at the I/O shield here. That's something I really like about this, is that it's actually connected to the motherboard. I wish they just do this all the time instead of forcing you to fidget around with trying to get those twisty, flimsy, cheap little bastards in the back of the case. So we have one display port, two HDMI ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 USB 3.2 USB ports, one USB 3.2 Type C port, and it has a 2.5 gigabyte network connector. Right here we have a pair of connectors for the Wi-Fi 6 antenna that you can hook up to this guy, and then of course your hookups for your audio, which we won't be using those. And it's just the I/O shield. Let's have a look at the main part of the board here. We have a Type 16 PCIe 4. Is that right? It's a 4, right? Yeah. PCIe 4.0 slot. Was that 8-pin header for your CPU power, your 24 for your main board power, just the standard stuff, USB 3 hookup, LED hookups, couple fan headers on here. There's not a ton of fan headers, but there are a couple of them. We have 4 SATA ports here, or SATA hookups here. Now, if you're paying attention, you'll know I've said I was putting 3 hard drives and 2 SSDs into the server box, but I only have 4 hookups. Well, that's where this little guy right here comes in. Can you focus? Let's see here. Yeah, there we go. So this has 5 SATA hookups for it, and it goes into an M.2 slot, which there's one on this board under this big old chunk of metal here, heat sink, and then on the back of the board there is another one. Now hopefully I'll be able to put my NVMe under this heat sink here and be able to put this guy back here, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out with the cable management. So to solve that problem, I bought this little guy here. He's just a little cable that, you know, you hook this guy up to your NVMe slot or your M.2 slot and locate the other end of it somewhere in the case, and that's where I'll hopefully hook this guy up and be able to have access to all of the SATA ports that will be available then. So hopefully that's how we'll solve that problem. We'll see how it works out, or if it works out at all. You've got a pair of DDR4 RAM slots. Now, I'm going to populate it right now with the old set of RAM slot sticks that I had laying around. These are G.Skill Ripjaw. It's a 32 gigabyte set, and they're clocked at 32 megahertz, I believe. 3200 megahertz. Yeah, 3200. So those guys will slip in there. One thing that is super nice about this motherboard, because I know there's going to be certain people out there freaking out, oh my God, you're not using ECC memory, which is error correcting memory. you're gonna lose all your data, blah blah blah, whatever argument they want to throw up there. Now, I'm just gonna remind you that, hey, this is for home use. I'm not running a business off of this or anything like that. You know, if you're building something like this for a business, I would definitely suggest getting the ECC memory and just protecting yourself as much as possible. This motherboard is capable of utilizing ECC memory. I do plan on in the future, you know, I'm gonna have to go out and cut a couple more lawns and save a couple more dollars before I can afford some ECC memory, but I'm planning on getting a 64 gigabyte set to put into this guy. And I think that's, you know, basically the the main points of the board. Like I said, it's nothing super special or anything. It's nice that it has the Wi-Fi hookup, so you know, if that's your bag, you can go ahead and utilize that. So let's go ahead and have a look at this super awesome Nito Petito case that I picked up. Oh, that was a horrible peel. My goodness. And I'm not showing it to you, and it's ripping everywhere. Oh my God. Nerds are going crazy all over the world right now after that horrible display. So, all right, let's do some repositioning and have a look at this case. Okay, this is the case that I purchased for this build. It is a Silverstone DS320-380, something like that. I'll throw it up on the model name up on the screen there, especially if I got it wrong. So let's have a quick look at it. On the one side here, we have a nice little magnetic filter for the two fans that we are going to replace with Noctua fans. The top has another little magnetic filter for our power supply. Spin her around to the front. It has a locking door here, so if you're in a public environment or whatever and you want to lock it up, you're capable of doing that. Right here, this is actually your little power button. It works through the door, pretty nice. And you have 8 driver cages there. If I can get one out for you. There you go. It's just a little plastic tray. Put a couple screws in for your hard drives and slide it on back in, like so. Not that I was, you know, super clumsy and having trouble doing that backwards. Flip it over this way. Took the side panel off. You can see right here is your hard drive cage. Right here is another little cage that'll hold 3 2.5 SSDs or hard drives, whatever you might want to put in there. So I'm going to take a second and we're going to pull out this cage right here. Pretty simple. 4 screws, 2 on top, 2 on bottom, and then there's 2 more on the bottom here for a total of 6. All right, to get this guy out, you just slide it backwards and pull it straight out, like so. So I'm going to put the main part of the case on the ground right now, just get it out of my way. All right, so like I say, you have your hard drive trays up front here. On the back, you have, boy, that doesn't look the greatest there. Anyway, you have, for each hard drive, you have 2 ports here. One is a SATA port, one is a SAS port. So once you hook this up, they're marked. So I believe they're marked. Yeah, they're marked. So make sure you're hooking up to the correct one for the hard drive that you're using. They also has 1, 2, 3 small SSD power supply hookups on it, and a Molex hookup right here, which I would assume that's for the fans, because there's also 2 fan headers on here that we probably aren't going to use, but we may. I don't know. So reasons I chose the case that I chose was because of this guy right here. Now, you can take this little panel off, and there's another little panel in here, but this is a cutout for your video card. I'm assuming that the R6 or the RTX 2060 will fit in this little slot, but if it doesn't, I'll grab my Quadro K620 from a few videos back, and I'll stick it in there for the time being. But I'm really hoping that will fit in there completely. But with that, we'll end up losing one of our hard drive trays, which is no big deal for me, at least, because you're still with 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, 7 of them up front here. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 of them up front here, plus your little tray for your 2.5-inch hard drives or SSDs, whichever. So for me, it's not a problem. I'm not worried about it or anything. Having a look inside the case, you have the 2 fans back here that will blow on the hard drives, try to keep those cool for you, and all your standard hookups. It's got a USB Type 3. Yeah, USB Type 3 hookup up front. Actually, a pair of them, it looks like. Up here. Yeah, a pair of them. Your audio, your power button, and your reset, and then your hard drive lights. So, all in all, it's a pretty nice little case. It's definitely smaller than what it's replacing, and hopefully quite a bit quieter. So, with that, let's get this thing together. Well, this is where we're sitting right now. I've got the power supply, the motherboard in, the graphics card, and 2 of the Noctua fans, which I should have cleaned those up. They're rather dusty. But you can see I put the stock cooler in because this is really cramped. I mean, I haven't even, you can see the wiring job so far. It's not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed of it because this is definitely a tight case. So I decided to go with the other fan just to conserve on space and not have to worry about bending these hoses around and finding some way to route them in here. So everything is installed except for the 3.5-inch SSD cage. I kind of want to leave it as one of the last things to put in, just to give me a little bit of space for my fat hands to get in there and wobble around. But the next thing we need to do is we need to take our cutoff out, put the new little piece in, and then see how many of the wires I need to move after that, because by golly, this is tight. So let's do that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to point out, I ended up putting that little adapter cable and the SATA converter down here. I routed it behind the motherboard, put it down at the bottom. I had to 3D print a little mount for it. I don't have it mounted down right now because, like I said, I'm not sure if this guy's going to work the way I want him to. If he doesn't work the way I want him to, then I don't have to worry about ripping some double-sided tape off. But I will have to take everything back out. So let's cross our fingers and hope that it works fine. I really do hope it does. Oh my goodness, do I hope it does. So let's get this case out of the way. So after looking at the instructions, I noticed my graphics card does not have a backplate on it. The PCB is exposed, so they suggest, or they tell you to take this rubber pad that's included and double side tape it to the or tape it to the little new bracket that we're installing. Install it that way. If for some reason, well, it'll add support to the graphics card, but if for some reason parts of the graphics card would start touching and causing issues, hopefully this will insulate it, which I would have thought the plastic was. So yeah, I would guess that rubber piece is just as support. They provide this little adapter, and it takes the place of the hard drive tray that you're not going to be using, just to clean everything up. With that guy in, well, I guess this is the moment of truth. Let's see. I know these guys are going to be in the way. Let's try to hold them out there. Maneuver. Okay, so we got wires in the way. So my graphics card has this fancy little bolts that hold on the shroud. Well, this one was in the way of the hard drive cage. So I've just popped it off, and we're going to try this again. And before I even bother screwing that down, we are definitely going to try it. And holy crap, it fits. All right, so that was about 2.5, 3 hours condensed down into like 30 seconds or so for you. So you could see all the trial and error, the in, the out, the take, just everything that went into making that mess. That's the cable management. Now, about the only thing I could really do was try to avoid having any cables run into fans or anything like that. I do plan on going and seeing if I can get some shorter SATA cables. That'll help out quite a bit, because the ones that I had were like 1.5 feet long. They're like huge compared to the doggone case. But we totally got the damn thing put together. So let's check and make sure we get make sure this thing posts. So here we go. Hit the power button. Fan spun up to high speed. See if we get a splash screen. Keyboard. Oh, there we go. Delete. All right, let's see what we have here. So 3200 megahertz on the CPU. We've got all three fans running. System fan 1, I actually put a Y or a splitter on that one to run the two fans on the side of it. There's a couple different hard drives there. All right, so the system works. I am happy. With all those cables in there, I'm really wondering how much this thing's going to heat up. So I think I'm going to install Windows on it and run a doggone stress test. Let's see what the outcome ends up being. All right, so I did install Windows 10 on this system, and I've been running Cinebench with Heaven running in the background in a loop for the last, it's coming up on a half hour now. If you look, where'd my mouse go? If you look up here, we're hitting 73C and the CPU is hitting 72C, which that's hot, but the temperature of this room right now, let's have a look at that real quick. If you look right here, the computer room temperature, we're sitting at 78.1 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 25 degrees Celsius, which is, it's relatively warm, especially, well, the temperatures have spiked up here in Illinois in the last day. So, you know, it's not the coolest in here. And this guy continued, where are we at? There we go. This guy continues to run. So I am super happy. I really thought with all those wires in there, jammed up together, small case, multiple hard drives running, things like that, and the room being as warm as it is, I thought for sure it would shut down. Now I did adjust the fan curve just a little bit. I brought it up a little bit, but not much, you know. So with that, I'm going to call this system done. Next up, throwing that true NAS scale on there. We'll have a couple videos on that probably. If you're interested in building something like this one here, without hard drives and everything, I'm going to say it was around $1,200. I'll go ahead and throw some affiliate links to Amazon down in the description if you're interested in that. So go ahead, reach down, karate chop that like button, roundhouse kick that subscribe button, and we'll catch you later.